Sure.
On now, and
All right. Welcome everyone to the Personnel Administration Committee. I call this meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, November the 1st, 2022. We welcome you in the council conference room and those of us joining on Zoom. We've got a nice little agenda today. And I think first off, on the agenda, which you can find on the county's website, the meeting packets is that we're going to be reviewing updates to the midpoint hire policy. And should I talk a little bit more about the midpoint hire policy while you're getting that pulled up? So the midpoint hire policy is something that we use to attract employees to Monroe County government who have substantial experience in related fields. And we are, as the county council has been working to make sure that we can attract and retain the amazing staff that we already have. This is an important tool for us to use to make sure that we continue to attract amazing staff to Monroe County government. I was wondering if my esteemed colleagues on the council would have anything more to add about our midpoint hire policy while we're getting that pulled up.
Yes, in response to the email we received this morning from the jail staff, they're very concerned about salaries that they had come to the council to speak about. The commissioners did not get any response from the county, and they were happy with it. So how might we include them in this midpoint hire policy?
Well, I think that's an interesting point, as we have different departments going through different struggles and times of challenge, that the midpoint hire policy isn't just for one department, it's for all departments. And so let's see. So I think if we could have, do we have the ability to pull that up yet?
I'm just thinking for the ones that have contracts and so forth, how would it affect?
Those that are bargaining.
Councilmember McKim, what's your opinion?
Well, I guess, isn't it, how would they not be included?
yeah,
That's my question. I mean, are they, I mean, they have entry levels as well.
excuse me,
So-
just
Yeah.
TSD, can you please promote Molly Turner King? As a panelist, thank you.
Are we still, can they hear us? It said the comment above it's from Kat saying the feed is muted.
Oh, are we muted?
Are we muted?
No,
No, doesn't look like we are. And it is, the camera is pointing at us when it hears us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like
Sometimes
that
that
has no
happens.
sound, is that what it is?
It seems that way. Maybe.
TSD, can you hear us?
Oh, there we go.
Shall we go back and say what all we already said?
Well, I mean, okay, so the basic question is, to what employees does this apply to? Is there anything in that policy that would exclude the corrections officers?
No,
I just
I
want to
mean,
make sure that whatever we do, we begin to think, give more consideration to law enforcement and to the jail, which we have not done.
I think the first whereas clause of this resolution states that we wish to enable department heads and elected officials to hire
yes,
highly qualified job applicants. And I think that's not, there's no qualifier there that only some department heads or some elected officials. I think,
no, this is open to everyone,
yeah,
so,
that's my understanding as
Yep.
well. Including those that do collective bargaining.
Correct.
The departments that are,
Actually, have they ever asked for a midpoint hire? Or did, I'm curious if they've ever
No.
hired anyone who has the relevant experience.
not that I know
Or do
of.
they pretty much just hire entry level COs?
I'm sorry, I didn't know the answer. I think it's a legitimate
well,
question.
and the sheriff's department, I think, would be more of the type of department that would use that than the jail.
I think the sheriff's department's more likely to ask for a midpoint hire. And in the instances I've seen them ask for it a couple times, it's because they've taken a jail employee to the sheriff's decide.
And maybe the,
But if that was the case, they wouldn't even need to ask for a midpoint hire because their experience would
Right.
just transfer directly.
Yeah,
right, but with jail staff, a lot of those, that's the first job they've had in law enforcement.
Yeah.
But they might have had other experience in other jails or whatever, so it seems to me we would, it's a legitimate question, if we don't have the answer, we'll figure it out.
Well, I think we have the answer.
Yeah,
It applies to
it's open to everyone. I mean, the department heads are, are more than welcome to fill out a request. But I mean, I have yet to receive anything from either the jail or the sheriff's department, in the past, so.
Well, are we ready to start this review of updates to the midpoint hire policy?
I think we were having.
Sure. Okay, there we go. Michelle or Ms. Turner King, who's leading us in this review?
Probably a combo. So Elizabeth and I got together and we updated the resolution with how we are currently working on midpoint hires, so the department makes a request, I send everything out, it comes back to Elizabeth and I, and then we review it. So it is not included in the current midpoint hire form that I, as your council administrator, also review it. It's the language that we currently have has for the HR director. Well, we no longer have an HR director. So that's one of the reasons why we're updating this. So I removed that part and we put the personnel administrator. And that's what her title is, personnel administrator. So she takes care of it. She reviews it. I also review it independently. And then she submits her recommendation to me so that I forward it on to the council. If my recommendation that I look at differs from her, I confer with her and go, what was your reasoning, this kind of thing. This is what I see. And then if that person does qualify, we just forward it on. I mean, I think we've only had one instance here recently where a person did not have, the qualifications for a midpoint hire. And so we did forward that on to the council, and the council did not grant that midpoint hire. So that's why we did this. So in this, there had also been discussion with regards to maybe a little bit more flexibility in adding like an 8-year level and as well as the 3. Because we have had several instances where an employee, we have, acquired an employee outside of Monroe County, and they have come to us with several years of experience. So we included a spot in there where not only is it a 3-year, as well as an 8-year. We also it was also talked about where we would like to be able to grant part-time hourly people, our current part-time hourly people that have worked in these positions that are moving up to a full-time position. When that happens, they basically start back at the base, and we don't have a provision right at this moment to be able to reward these part-time hourly people that have been with us for a while and give them, maybe that little bump kind of thing. So we incorporated into this if the part-time person has been in this position for at least 2 years, working the same job duties as the position that they're moving into, then we could put them at the 1-year level instead of at the base level. So, and then I've asked Molly, she went through and added some things and made some things clarifying. So that's basically where I'm at with this. So we need to talk about what kind of a title we want to call this, because it would no longer be a midpoint hire. I just named it, a compensation increase, kind of thing for non-people and non-government
non-Monroe County.
Yeah, people as well as
Yeah.
part-time hourly. And so then we also had a little bit more discussion, and I'll let Molly take over from there.
So the other thing that was discussed that is currently incorporated in this policy is applicable to individuals who are hired with no Monroe County government work experience. And what it says is that if the council administrator and the personnel administrator agree on the midpoint hire based on the knowledge, skills, and ability, that when there's a consensus between those two individuals, the request would then be approved and not be presented to full council. And that if Kim and E do not agree, then it would be presented to full council. So it's a delegation if council administrator and personnel administrator agree, which is this section in blue.
Okay, question. And as I said, I've been kind of busy with other important things today, and I've been a bit since I looked at this list. But I would like to think that the council would at least know that it has been requested and being reviewed. Because that's too much to put on two people who are not elected. So we should at least be notified that they are being reviewed. And then if we want to look at it, fine. If we don't, but we would still listen to their advice. So is that in there?
Well, it kind of sounds like that's sort of like what we do with rehires, right? With filling vacant positions, that we're notified, and if we want, we can make a fuss about it, but they don't have to wait for a decision.
Right, I'm just suggesting that we don't skip council's eyes on this.
No,
It does require, I know it's not full council, but the way it's written is that,
well, even the paragraph 5. Right there.
yeah, so we would get an email and then, there's also a conversation with council president.
So once the review is done, according to this, and we send it on to the entire council with the redacted resume and this kind of thing. So once we have completed our portion of it, at this point, we're still sending it to the council. That step would not be removed. I would not eliminate the council not knowing that this is going on. So
Even in the event there's a consensus between
right.
E and Kim, then
It would
you would still go
out.
up saying,
Mhm.
here's the resume, this is what we agree on the midpoint.
But let's say if we don't agree.
If they don't
agree. Or if they do agree, and maybe it would not have been what council direction would have been. Let's remember, these are not always going to be people sitting in these chairs. We make these decisions, it's like, goes on or not. So would we, as a council as a whole, I'm not saying just the president, not just the liaison, as a whole, county council, such and such is being, you don't have to say the person. There's a position being considered, contact HR if we have a question, contact or whatever. That way, any department head is going to feel like they have at least had the opportunity to reach out to the entire council. We're not, listen, well, we can. I think there's too much emphasis put on departments thinking they are only supposed to reach out to their liaison, which is not the way it's supposed to work. No.
So does the council have statutory authority to then override a decision that a HR administrator and a council administrator came to unanimously?
Oh, yeah.
I think the answer is
Oh,
yes.
yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
So I think,
And that's why I mean, we can put it in there that just like we do the vacancies, that, once we have arrived at the decision, we can give you that 48 hours
Any counselor could then request.
Mhm.
full council.
full council, so we can add that. So yes,
Okay.
we can do that just like we do with the vacancies. And then that way, we can then confer with the council president as to when we want to have this on the agenda. So, yeah,
And you said you'll send out the redacted resume, so we'll see the resume but not know the name.
correct.
Yeah.
You're right. And that's what we currently are doing. You
Yeah.
can see the skills. You'll also get not only the resume, you get the job description that goes along with it, so that you can see.
Yeah, and I like that forces council to talk about the position and not the person.
Correct.
So-
And that's the whole idea, because,
Yeah.
you know. And so we can get that language from the vacancy, you know, or however it is. And
Councilmember Kim, do you have any thoughts, questions, or knowledge?
I mean, I've been talking with Kim and Molly about this a while. I support this in its entirety, and I also support the change we just made by giving the council essentially the opportunity to do a full review regardless.
If they don't choose to, then they don't choose to. At least they don't, no department head has to feel like, well, everyone didn't have an opportunity to look at them.
Correct.
I really like
And-
oh, go ahead.
oh, and then my other thing was, I could also, if you wanted, we could have like a monthly update. You know, saying, you know, this is who we have, you know, added to midpoint hires, you know, or the positions that we have added to midpoint hires. You know, just as a departmental update from me or something like that, or from E, if that's the way you know, would want it, we can do that. That way it's in the record that a midpoint hire has been, you know, done and completed. We could do something like that as well. Would you?
And you know, see, I mean, I don't know how you work it into this, but what I've seen, and we all have, is like if you're a county employee and you're sitting over here and you're doing a clerk's position, but you're working on education to do something a great deal more, and then you get the years that you've said over here in the clerk's position as if you've been.
That's always been an issue.
And so is that something that PAC should discuss, or is that something that's just truly financial?
I think that's not with this midpoint hire, right?
No.
It isn't, but I mean,
Right.
but it's been a long
But
time.
it's-
issue.
Yeah, I think that's
Sort of
something.
like all the round robin, how do we treat either part-time employees
Mhm.
and whether or not they move up, or whether how we treat like this employee doing one job and then they move on to much.
If they're changing
Greater pay
classification,
and
so
then
if
greater
they're, if
pay
they're
is
a comment and they're moving to an EXE or something, that's what you're talking about.
Or, let's say Molly had worked for, 10 years as a deputy clerk and then got a job as a county attorney.
Yeah.
I mean, that would give her a substantial salary. I'm not to pick on you, just that, a substantial salary increase.
Right.
Just having been worked 10 years as a clerk, even though those years of experience might not be particularly applicable to being a county attorney.
I think that is something that we definitely need to look at, and we need to establish a policy moving forward. I don't know how, I mean, for now, we would probably have to grandfather everybody, but like moving forward, we probably would need to do, I don't know
Yeah,
how we
like,
would
how do
fix
you
that.
do that?
Not, yeah,
Well,
Without requiring a huge amount of review on the part of HR.
yeah,
it's,
Yeah.
well, but there has to be something, because if you're in a department and you've been in that department for 5 years and doing the extra job, and somebody comes in, knows nothing about that department, and you're having to train them, and that person's making a lot more because they've been around county government for so long. So I guess my question is would this also be similar to this and be discussed by PAC, or is it more strictly financial?
well, I would say, because, later on in this agenda, we're gonna talk about developing procedures for a referral bonus, which is a financial thing. I think we as PAC, and I'm using the word we loosely here, can, at least develop a template or something for the entire council to look at, and then that way they have a base.
Recommendations is
Yeah, a recommendation.
Suggestions.
Mhm.
Yeah, kind of thing. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's what we're gonna do here with the referral bonus as well, is we're going to try and put something together and then give it to the entire council. So,
But I also think is as soon as a department head or elected official requests an ICR, that the discretion that you two have can help, kind of needle out those situations that we're talking about because of your tenure. And it can help when you email all these to the council, that's the information's been redacted, you can kind of help, alert us that, hey, this is one of those situations.
and it might help speed up the process a little bit, because I know that if, with regards to, some midpoint hires, they don't fall, really well. And so we've got a person out there maybe wanting to turn in their 2 weeks notice, but doesn't want to do that until they know for sure they're going to be getting this bump or something. This might help speed up the process in acquiring these people, instead of having to wait for an entire, council meeting, unless, it's requested with that 48 hours notice. So, I can see the.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like the idea that it would probably make it easier for us to quickly onboard really highly qualified, experienced employees. So that seems to be the purpose of the policy.
And one of the, and I can't remember who asked, but I want to say that somebody had asked how many midpoint hires we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much everybody.
Yeah, well,
Well, see,
actually,
that-
and it's not. And so
It
what,
feels that way.
it feels that way, but it's not. So I wanted to,
Can we stop sharing?
yeah, you stop sharing, and I need to find something really quick. Is that the
Are you doing it by department? Because I think we get more
Mhm.
from the same departments.
yeah, and yeah, I've got a way to,
They sort of know how to ask better or something.
well, it just tends, there it is. And so so I would like to share my screen really quick, please. That way everyone see. Okay, so this is the list that I update every time we do a midpoint hire. And I apologize, this does not have the most recent like building department one in here. But you can see here, the ones in yellow were the ones that were like recently hired because of the salary ordinance. So these have happened since the adoption of the 2022 salary ordinance of last October. So everything here in yellow are the new ones. And then I also keep track of when do they expire. So here's,
Wait, why are they, what's the strike through mean?
the strike through means they are no longer employed here,
Mm,
or they have met the 3-year requirement within that level. So,
Or they meant.
or they finally reached the 3-year. So that's what that means. So like, yeah. So just to pick on one person we have here in the legal department, his expired, and I think that says 7. I can't tell from here.
Yeah,
So in
7/22.
July. So yeah, I just strike them out. I just go ahead and keep the record of it for this year, and then come next year, those will be removed and cleaned up. So
So this is just midpoint hires.
this is just
Do
the
we know
midpoint hire
how many, I guess, non-midpoint hires we do in a year to put this in
On average,
context?
we hire 100 people a year.
So then what happens if the increase, like whatever percent increase that everyone got, would put them over that amount and they hadn't hit the 3 years, would they only get just the difference between?
This does not affect an outlier. I mean, if they're at the 3-year level, they're at the 3-year level.
They're not a high outline.
They're not a
just
high-
at the-
They're just at the 3-year
But
level.
you're saying you're keeping track of how many,
I'm keeping track of when it was approved and when it expires for a 3-year, because if an audit comes in and they say, why is this person being paid at the 3-year level? But they were only hired, just recently. Well, I have proof that they were approved by the council on this date at the 3-year level.
and if they're hired in at the 3-year level and everybody gets a 5% raise, they get a 5% raise,
As
and
well.
they could have just been hired in a week before.
Right, as long as they had those 3 years that had been.
Yep.
already approved.
And should council adopt this midpoint hire policy, we'll be adding another column in here for the 8-year. Is that correct?
Correct. And then we'll also have one for the part-time for a 1 year.
That's correct. Yeah.
So
What do
they'll-
you mean? You said as long as they have been there 3 years.
Well, I'm saying I mean, when you refer to somebody who's brand new, they're brand new here, but presumably they're
If
only
hired in
approved,
3 years.
right, they're hired in at 3 years because they've had that experience somewhere else.
So if everyone gets a raise, they would get a raise on top of where
Yes.
they are hired in, and they don't have to wait until their 3 years would catch up with the three.
Correct.
Just want to make sure I understand.
Yeah, because we're giving them the level experience benefit, not the salary and locking them into a salary.
Mhm.
But they don't get the same benefit for vacation, et cetera,
No.
et cetera.
No, and that's outlined in the resolution as well. They don't get the vacation or the longevity. That's still at their higher date.
And that's all controlled by the personnel policy, right?
Right.
So
Yes, it is.
commissioners would have to
Yeah.
vote on.
Yes,
Well, that's in the salary ordinance.
it's in the salary ordinance as well, because we've incorporated that into our salary ordinance. Yes. So that's the listing there. So, and that's how I keep track of it.
It's about 10 people.
Yeah.
Since the salary ordinance last year.
Yeah,
So there are a lot of people who are still hired every year that are just hired in at the entry level.
yes.
I know, we just hear about the ones that.
Right.
And that's why it
a
seems
lot
like,
if it's
Like
every
nine,
meeting.
9 out of 10, it sounds like,
Yeah.
are hired in at entry level.
Yes.
Well, then when you feel like it's everybody, then you think, why are we even bothering with the entry level? But clearly there is a reason.
Yeah.
And, I think we should support those people who want to come and work for county government, even if they have no experience at all, because many of those folks will stay for 20 years, really dedicate their life to being the county government.
Are there any further questions about this resolution?
There's one more thing that I wanted to point out that this resolution does. Are you still sharing your screen?
No, I stopped.
Oh, I just lost Zoom connection. The other thing that when I am re-admitted to Zoom, I will share this on my screen, is it creates a process for reevaluation or late submission of an ICR. So say someone gets hired and the department head didn't request an ICR, but after that person started working, they realized they should have requested an ICR. They would have 45 days from the applicant's hire date to come back and say, wait, this person is actually performing the skills of a more qualified person.
So somebody hires them and they don't ask for midpoint.
Correct.
If they've been there for a month and they go, oh, look how great they are, or gee, I didn't get it,
Yeah.
ask for in time, I'll ask now. I was on vacation, I didn't get time to do that, but now I think I take time to do it, and I'm gonna ask for it, they've got how much time to.
45 days from the date the person was hired.
And
And
we
you can
have,
change the.
and we
time
have
frame.
done that. We did one with TSD last year. They hired the person. They worked for, I want to say, almost 2 to 3 weeks, and he then came and asked for a midpoint hire, and it was granted. And we have also,
That one should have been asked for to begin with, when you looked at that guy's qualification.
right, he was, yeah, I think he was hiring this person as a probationarily, so that, to see if he had the skills, and come to find out, yeah, he said he was what he said he was, because sometimes, paper isn't always accurate, kind of thing.
What section of the resolution talks about that 45-day period, or is that not in the resolution?
I don't know if it was in the version
It
that's
wasn't in the-
uploaded.
Okay, can you get back on, Molly?
Oh, so
I'm
that,
trying. It's 'cause I don't have
okay,
internet
so-
connection. Can I send it to you? If I
No,
email-
because I can't get on either.
Okay.
But you know, I'm not sure that we ought to include that because,
Send it to
I mean,
me.
they could always
email
still
wise.
come and do
I
it.
think I
It's
can-
always our choice. Anyway, you can't account for choice.
Right.
If you put it in there as part of the policy, everybody will be doing it.
Well, I don't want to make comment on it because I haven't read it. I haven't seen this section, so.
Well, maybe we should table that portion of it.
Well, actually, that brings up, while we're working with technology, the next step for this resolution would be that it would go to council for their review and eventual adoption. Is that correct?
Yes, that was my plan. And so I was thinking this would be like on a work session.
Okay.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Nothing we do
It's
is
still-
from that. We're just advisory. That's it.
Yeah.
Still trying to pull that.
Why, the reason I asked that question is I didn't, I just wanted to make sure that this was in as much of a form that could be sent to council as possible. And if we needed another month to do some revisions, we could do that too. But that's up to the council president as to when this appears on the council
Yeah.
agenda.
I'm going to request for the work session, but, yeah, I mean, we've waited this long. I mean, it's. It's not, my email's just not popping up.
I'm back. I just need to be promoted.
Well,
Okay, can you try and promote her again, TSD, please?
let me make a comment real quick while you're getting that done. Section 2, I really like this idea of providing an increased
Grant.
compensation review for part-time employees because it gives a pathway to a career in county government. It gives our part-time employees this message saying, hey, stick around. There's a pathway for you to make a career out of this. I think that's a really positive step.
Not looking at it right now. Does that mean that the part-time person would be considered to go in at like halfway? And not
At the
not
1 year level.
go in at a 1 year level, no matter how many years they've worked part-time, they can start at a 1 year.
Right.
If requested.
Well, doesn't it say they have to work at least
have-
2?
They have to work at least 2 years part-time.
Right, okay.
And
And then the only thing this is saying, they would be granted to start
at
at
the,
a 1 year level, not a 3 year.
no, just a 1 year. And
Unless the department head came out and said, look, we think better that, whatever.
Right.
Okay, never mind.
right,
So this is the
Subsection
reevaluation.
C is the reevaluation part. So the first one is
What section is this? Is it section 3 or 4 of the resolution?
this is under section 1
Section
because it
1,
only applies to
full-time.
Full-time.
full-time non-Monroe County government or applicants without Monroe County
Sure.
history.
Okay.
So the numerated paragraph 1 is when they're hired and the department head hasn't requested a ICR but would like to, so then they have 45 days to submit it after hire date. And then section 2 is basically a reevaluation where maybe they asked for an ICR, was said, it was determined that the applicant didn't have the necessary knowledge, skills, and experience or ability. And then the person starts working and the department head's like, oh, wait, basically you've undersold yourself on your resume and can I ask for a reevaluation?
Mhm. Mhm. I can think of one instance in my time here where this might have happened. This isn't very common, I don't think.
All right. I mean, I don't object to having this clause in there, but I agree, I would not expect it to be used very often.
yeah,
Are you comfortable with that time frame of 45 days after hire date, or would you make it 30?
I could live with either.
I could too. I think it's going to be really evident if someone has undersold themselves and they get into the job and they're just overperforming. I think they're going to know well before 30 days.
I agree with that. I think for just paperwork purposes, 45 days. Giving a department head that little bit of extra time to get themselves in order about how they're gonna.
I originally thought 45 days solely because I figured like maybe the first week would be employee getting through orientation and not. I thought might take a little more than 30 days to get acclimated with a new job.
It is really important that you're here at this table for comments like that, because, those of us on council aren't doing the behind the scenes work. And I really appreciate that
Yeah,
perspective that,
I think that 30 days will fly by really fast and then the department head will be like, oh, I only have 30 days to do that.
yes,
That's sort of mine.
Okay, may I ask a question? See, I should know this after all these years, but at least it used to be. That the first 3 months you were on a probationary time frame anyway. And then,
That is in the personnel.
I beg pardon?
Is it?
Yeah.
Yes.
They're in the,
In personnel policy says 90 days.
Okay.
But having 1 day, so the department head still. We just don't want to take anything away from the elected department.
I agree.
head's Discretion.
I agree. I think this gives them an additional tool.
Yeah,
I think-
I don't think that giving them a midpoint hire or reevaluating them has anything.
You say this is the options, but they could always ask for more or less or whatever they ask for.
Yeah.
And we should hear.
I'm fine with the sense of it.
All right. Do you have any other thoughts or concerns, Councilmember Hawk? All right, go forth and schedule.
Okay.
All right, that concludes our review of the updates to the midpoint hire policy. And now we'll open a discussion on developing procedures for a referral bonus. And so Michelle and Ms. Turner King, what can you tell us about a referral bonus in Monroe County government?
At our recent budget adoptions, and during our sessions, it had been mentioned that it would be nice to be able to reward employees that have made referrals to others that have been hired. And I think the consensus was of most of the council members was to have some kind of a procedure in order to have a referral bonus. But we don't really have anything in mind. So we need to come up with maybe like a procedures or something. And I think this is where E will need to like put a lot of input in, because she may be the one that's tracking it, and that's the thing. It's like, who's going to be responsible for, if somebody does turn in a referral, then who's going to be paying this out? How is it going to be paid out? From what fund, what department, this kind of thing. So it's like, and like she said earlier, we have about 100 new hires annually, that kind of thing. And I think the amount tossed around was like $500. How are we going to split that up? What if they put 2 people down? So we just need, this is just kind of what do you want to kind of see? And then we can come back and tweak it some more, kind of thing.
Do any other public sector agencies that we're aware of, you do a referral bonus?
The city does, but only for police
I beg your
officers.
pardon?
The city does, but only for police officers. They don't do it for their
For just
other.
for other civilian.
Correct.
Well, at least keeps it all inside one.
I don't know about other counties that.
I'm about to find out because I'm on the legislative through the state, so I'll just ship that question out this afternoon.
I mean, I don't think the issue of if they claim 2 is an issue. I think they can only claim 1. I mean, pick one,
Hey, let's you and I go for coffee. We both sit there and talk about somebody we really like. Boy, wouldn't they be great and such and such? Well, let's pretend we're not elected officials.
All right, well,
Then you know, maybe $250 is like we'd split it. Or maybe we would say, hey, I mentioned that name first. See, you just never know what could happen, so.
Right, but that's kind of our, our issue to work that out. And obviously not elected officials don't.
Shouldn't,
Right.
shouldn't.
The bonus, yeah,
I mean,
we should be recruiting people anyway.
And, nepotism should not be allowed and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, what,
I would just like to say this. Monroe County government is a wonderful place to live.
yes,
And it has a lot of great benefits,
yes.
a lot of great vacation times that many other employment does not offer. And we don't lay people off. If we have to cut back on budgets, we do it through attrition. It doesn't mean we wouldn't ever lay anyone off, but tell me when we have. I don't recall any mass layoffs. So we should be bringing in employees just by word of mouth without expecting somebody to put money in our pocket to do it. And especially with recession coming up, those people who are out in other jobs where they left for other jobs and voila, now all of a sudden they're not so sure those jobs are secure. They will be running toward county government or any other permanent type employment. I just think this is like a different time now than it was even 2 months ago.
So, one of the things that I'm interested in is seeing a series of recommendations on, what is a best practice, that we should not be reinventing the wheel here.
Yes, I agree.
There are, HR organizations and things like that. So a list of 2 to 3 recommendations that should incorporate not only the intent of council to make it easier for our department heads and elected officials to attract and retain quality staff, but also balancing that with understanding that our staff is incredibly busy and adding another 20 hours of paperwork is not tenable. So given those 2, what recommendations can you offer to us? And I think that's what I'd like to see.
I'd like to see if any other county councils in the entire state have determined to do this and how they can want to talk with the county council people or their auditors as to where they're getting from what fund to do this and how much time does it take to figure all this out? And wouldn't we be better off if we all just made sure the public understand we love our jobs? Just say, can we spend money? It's coming out of that same kitty where we hope to be able to support our county employees we have.
Well, and that's why I'm interested in seeing recommendations on best practices, because that'll give us a clearer idea of what fiscal impact this could potentially have. I don't have a good frame of mind for a fiscal impact.
Are you talking about for like 1 year and take it out of the ARPA funds, or are you talking about forever?
This was raised during a budget session and it was referred to PAC. So we're picking up the ball and seeking best practices at this
Yeah.
point.
I guess I would like to see what other public sectors are doing.
Okay.
Lisa, we've heard about the city police.
I mean, the AIC might even be able to tell us what other county councils
be
say.
AIC,
yeah. That could very well be.
I had HR on an email with all county HR and auditors offices.
See if anybody
Yeah,
has.
they'll be able to.
Because if they're all saying they haven't, that doesn't mean we shouldn't, but it also
Sure.
means we should at least take pause.
All right. Did you all get what you needed out of that discussion?
Yes.
Excellent. Let's move on then to item number 4 on our agenda, which is a review of draft PAC procedures. Michelle, Ms. Turner King, what are we looking at here? This is also page 8 of the packet.
I think I can pull that out. One moment. You got it? I got it. Okay, so I've been in between doing some other thing, all my other stuff. I had been asked to try and develop, like simple procedures just to like incorporate with our requests so that departments kind of know what's, hey, especially for new people, like new elected officials or new department heads, new financial managers or, personnel. And in this way, they have this information readily available to them. And if that way, if they have any questions. So I came up with, this would be for the PAC. And this is this information comes straight from what we have approved as the council has approved with regards to our maintenance policies, with regards to our procedures with that. So I took this and I kind of just put it in a simpler form. This will be like part of the PAC request. That way that information is always with that PAC request. So this just outlines what council did. They, approved the maintenance policy and this kind of thing and all the information. So with the procedures, then the question would be, you need to create a new job description and a position. And then this would be the steps that a department head or an elected official would need to go through in order to create a new job description or, a position. And we have certain WIS forms that have to be completed with regards to that particular question. And so that outlines this right here. It would go, they fill out the forms. Once they fill those out, they would come to PAC. Then the PAC would decide, well, yes, we want to move forward with it. It would go to our third-party administrators. The council administrator would then, forward that information on, so it lays out exactly, the step-by-step what a department head should expect with regards to that procedure. And then the second question is, well, all I need to do is change or update an existing job description. And this would be the same thing. This is a step-by-step. Well, if you have a current job description, you need to strike out what you want, and then in bold red, add that. There's also, WIS has requested when they do that, they have to fill out this form as well, because filling out that form tells them certain, like, how important is this duty? Where does it fall into the alignment within the job description? So that gives them that. And so then, so this lays it all out. If it'll go to the PAC. If it's something that is a relatively easy, it's just adding a duty, it's not going to change the classification, then, PAC can forward that on to the council. But if it's something that, this might change the classification because, we've added extra responsibilities, well, then it will need to go to the third-party administrator. And then here's the steps that, just like above, this is what we're going to go through.
But PAC determines.
PAC will make that determination
So
if it needs to.
departments can't just go and send it off to, I know we've had that problem.
We had that problem before. No, it's got to come to PAC, and then PAC will say, okay, now we can add that job duty, or it'll have to go through the third-party administrator. So,
And I can't see that.
oh, that's okay.
Is it included in there that the new job duties they're putting on this position? Well, who's doing those job duties now, and are we taking it? That's where we've been remiss, is not removing it from the present job description.
Mm.
Let's say somebody's in charge of letting people in the front door, and now we're going to have somebody else let people in the front door. What's that other person going to take that description off of that?
Right.
And I don't think we've been doing that.
I don't think we have either.
And
So,
that's
no.
where all these job descriptions have got to be a real mess. So is it in there someplace? I'm sorry,
No, I don't have anything in there with regards to if this is a duty from a prior
Or just who is
Who is currently doing this?
currently providing that service?
Okay,
If the duties are not being moved from another job description to that job description, would you want it to be documented that it's like a new, like sometimes people get just new processes in their department, and so that person is being tasked. Is that language that you would like in there? Does that matter?
If it's like some other employee is actually doing that entire duty right now, and you're going to move that duty over to someone else,
Right.
then you need to know that.
Mhm.
But if it's they're doing that duty and somebody else has got to also do that duty because they can't get it done within the time frame. I mean, I just think we have to figure out what we're doing here. No,
I think the first question is that happening? And the second question is, if it is, how pervasive is it?
mhm.
Yeah, I don't think the job descriptions get changed, that it's documenting kind of where those duties came from if they weren't there before.
Right.
Could we just remove a job duty from a job description? Is,
I cannot hear you. So,
if we just remove a job duty from, okay, say. You take a job duty from my job description and give it to Kim, does my job description have to be reevaluated by with?
Yes, that,
And they're gonna charge us for that?
no,
I think it's,
up to Pat.
I think that's up to Pat, and I think that's what she's saying, so. That if we're removing a job duty from one position or a position that's currently doing it, but we're gonna put it in this one. Is it a brand new duty or is it coming from someplace else? And do we need to redo that job description as well?
And they
So-
both need to come and be presented at the same time.
Okay, so,
And the whole point of having Pat here was so that we could look at ways that we could encourage the department head to reorganize their department.
mhm.
And I'm not sure we're doing any of that. You know, we tried it with the auditor's office. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is true. Well, I don't know. We have seen some reorganizations. HR is probably
Yeah,
the biggest example of a reorganization. The whole HR and payroll.
Well, HR, payroll, all of the budget process, you look at all of the things under the auditor's duties. And that's not all what is going on in the auditor's staff. Exactly. So,
okay, we can update this, yeah.
I don't know, I mean, it's not just the auditor, it could be any office. Could be.
True. I'm
Yeah,
gonna have to leave by.
so. This clarifies the duties of PAC. It clarifies that financial decisions are made by council, not PAC.
Right, and that was the next section here is then if they're just coming and they have an additional, they just want to add an additional employee. They have the job description. You know, they just want to add another employee with that same job description. That is strictly a fiscal decision, and then that would go to council. So, and that's outlined on this as well, so that, you know, that way they're not coming to PAC. Because I had some confusion with regards to, you know, who does what and this kind of thing. So this way it just lays it out. And that way nobody's wasting their time, you know, having to attend a meeting unnecessarily. So, and yeah, so we can fix that part where we're,
And then the approval of this document, is that something that we handle here in PAC, or is that something that we take to the full council?
I think this is, to me, it's a PAC because this is your procedures that you want, but I mean, I have no idea.
I would think it would still get voted on by the council.
Okay,
Right.
All right, well, let's get those edits made and then we can review them between the three of us and then we'll schedule.
And we don't have to go into long details at the council meeting. We could just say, you know, this
Yep.
is, you know, be a one and done.
right, okay.
All right, well, so that concludes our review of the draft PAC procedures. Thank you, Michelle, for putting those together. Next is the approval of the summary minutes as presented for August 2nd, 2022. Were there any changes? Hearing none, those minutes are approved. Any PAC member comments?
Thank you very
Yes,
much.
I do have one. With regards to the PAC meetings for 2023. I only scheduled per, what our maintenance plan has, which was February through April. And that's where the departments, if they want to make any changes, ask for new positions. According to our maintenance plan, it's February, March, and April. And then that way we can get everything done prior to budgets. I went ahead and added May because I think May we can possibly get
Still
things squeezed in there. My question to the current PAC members, because of what we've had to go through this year, do you like having PAC meetings set monthly from, let's just say, June on, and then we cancel them if we don't need them, or should we just schedule them as needed? What,
I will say personally, I like having it already on my calendar.
Right.
Because
Okay.
I almost certainly won't be able to make it if it's not on my calendar
gotcha,
in advance, so. Okay, and it's a bonus. If it gets canceled, then it's a
Right.
gift of time.
it's, okay, and that's kind of the way I was kind of thinking of it. I mean, we can, I want to go ahead and schedule them for Tuesdays because that's what the schedules for everybody. We can change the times whenever we get the new committee set, but at least we already have the date set and that kind of thing. So
It is not gonna be the same date as the council meeting.
correct. It's the first Tuesday of the
And
month.
I doubt I'll even be on it, so we don't know who's
Yeah.
gonna be.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I want to go ahead and schedule dates. We can fix the times later.
But I
So,
like the
okay.
noon time.
Today is the last day of open enrollment. So
I need-
Monroe County employees, if you're listening to this, jump on the email. You've gotten the email, you've gotten the text messages.
Get her done.
All right, that concludes this meeting of PAC. Thank you all for listening. If you have any questions or comments, let me know.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, these are the minutes.
Yeah, I need to run, but I know, you can tell Marty that you're working on the fiscal analysis for the
Yes.
sheriff and COs.
Yes.
Alex.
Hey,
You told
do
me.
you know how you sent me
Yes.
that document? for
Well,
the
I
sheriff's department
came to talk to her
Showing
about
when
that,
someone
too.
was hired and when they left.
I want to see a couple of different scenarios.
I think the email-
Like,
Yeah.
Make sure, let's
Yeah.
make sure we're.
Can you do a similar one for the jail?
Yes, I just did one for the jail app.
Okay.